Good evening. Welcome to this week's podcast. I have had a little bit of a break, which you may have noticed. If you follow me on social media, you will know that my beautiful dog Rowan died on the 20th of December. So I've just taken a little bit of time out and I'm easing myself back into things gently because 2025 has been a bit of a year, losing three beautiful dogs. So I'm just trying to pare things back a bit and just doing a few little things to start with and easy myself back in. But I will cover cancer in dogs in a bit more detail. I did do a podcast on it, but I think there's other things that actually I want to cover as well as stuff on grief, but it's a little bit too raw for me at the moment. So welcome to the Healthful Doctor Who Pause Wins podcast. So my name is Dr. Helen. I'm an emergency medicine doctor and also a certified animal aromatherapy specialist and behaviourist. And I love to help people with their health and that of their pets in an integrative way using beautiful essential oils. Now, if you like what you're listening to, please hit the follow or the subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you would like me to cover. And if you would like to find out about getting my help and working with me, then please check out the links in the comments or shoot me a message and we can have a chat to see what is best for you. So, winter wellness tips for your pets. And maybe I probably should have done this podcast a couple of weeks ago, really, shouldn't I? But, you know, it's what it is. And we've obviously just been having snow. For many of you, you still got snow. But there are a few precautions that we should take. And there's been quite a few things on social media with people asking about temperatures of dogs. And I know some people were laughing because people were asking about temperatures of dogs that when they shouldn't be walked and showing pictures of their dogs out in the snow. But actually, it's good to be cautious. And, you know, dogs can get sort of frostbite on different extremities and, you know, the different things that are on the ground, like the salt that's used to grit the roads or the grit that's used to grit the road, can irritate paws and things like that. So, you know, a little bit of prevention is always better than cure. So let's sort of look, first of all, at some of the pets who might live outside. So you might want to consider bringing them in, but if that's not possible, then make sure they've got extra bedding or covers over living quarters to make sure they're warm enough. Make sure you're refreshing the water really frequently because it does freeze. I've got a bowl of water for the dogs in the garden, but the birds drink out of it, and it's been frozen. And every day that I fill it up with fresh water, I see the birds flock down to it. So it's really lovely, and the same with food. Now, you might want to also consider reducing your dog walk times and consider coats for them so they're not using their energy to keep warm. And this is especially important as your dogs get older because their joints, you might notice yourself, and it's the same for our joints, the synovial fluid that cushions the joints all gets much thicker and it takes longer to warm up. So they can be a lot stiffer going for a walk. So my elderly dog, Seren, has a coat on. Sometimes she has an Equifleece. She had her coat on today as the Equifleece was in the wash. And my little paraplegic Bambi has his little sort of a little puffer jacket thing on. I would love to have him. I have to really limit what he does on the ground because he refuses to wear his wheels and he refuses to wear a drag bag. And so his little legs can get very cold on the ground. So you just need to be a little bit mindful of that because he's getting older too. Now, for those dogs that are having reduced exercise, just consider some enrichment activities. So it may be things like snuffle mats, a little bit of scent work in the home, maybe, you know, start doing some of those dog training activities that you've been thinking about and haven't got round to. That will be really good. You know, there's lots of different things that you can do. Some nice massage. You know, I've got quite a lot. I'll link in my little blog post I think I've done on free work, and have a look on my blogs as well because I've got some stuff on there. I definitely need to do more, but there's certainly stuff on my YouTube channel as well. Now, older pets in the house may also feel the cold. So you may not have the heating on during the day, but actually they may be a bit chilly. So you might want to consider a jumper or a fleece for them. When I was away down in Suffolk, it was very cold. And so, you know, I was worried about the cats because what the cats did was they knocked my router out, and my neighbour who comes in to feed the cats couldn't work out how to get it going again. Unfortunately, it was just the day before I was due to come home because I was really worried they were going to be too cold. because they've got a catio as well that's got a window open upstairs. So, but they were fine. But older pets, you know, because they may be feeling stiff, you might want to change their bedding to support their physical body a bit more. And especially as our dogs get older, you know, some of the beds that have got the lips on can be difficult for them to get into. So you may want to think about memory foam. Now, there's a couple of lovely essential oil blends that can be really nice to support the musculoskeletal system. I like one called Aroma Touch, which is great for warming up the muscles and applied to the body, you know, the dogs before they go out for a walk, and it's really, really nice. And then also an omega fish oil as well for arthritis is really important. And make sure they're visible, some high vis collars or lights. And I was out for a walk a couple of weeks ago, and it's more than a couple of weeks ago actually, and I was like, oh my goodness, those dogs' lights are really bright. And I was chatting to the owner, and I was like, where did you get these lights from? And he said, oh, from Amazon, and they're Anko ones. So what I'll do is I'll post the link in the podcast for the lights, because I was really impressed with how good they are, and I got a couple for myself. So the other thing you might want to consider is keeping your cats in as well. Now the days are shorter, to keep them safe from cars on dark streets. And you know, I lost a cat to the road. My neighbour did, and I hear so many. I've picked cats off the streets, and it's, you know, they can be darting across the road. You don't see them, and actually the days are shorter. You know, if you can keep them in, it's just that much safer for them. So you know, you might want to consider that. Also, know the signs of hypothermia and be vigilant to it both during a walk and after. So shivering, lethargy, pale gums, progressing to muscle stiffness, confusion, slow, shallow breathing, slow heart rate, loss of coordination, and eventually collapse or coma. So if you are worried about that, do get them to the vets. You know, I've had from human patients, I've had a few hypothermia patients, and you actually have to cool them, warm them slowly. So, you know, if they get to the point where they're actually sort of getting confused and they've got slower, shallow breathing, they need to really, and, you know, even pale gums actually, or a lethargy, I'd be getting them to the vets, because they need probably warmed fluids. There's a lot that you need to do, and keep an eye on them, because it can really cause heart rate abnormalities. Think of their paws on ice and snow or freezing rain. Boots may be a sensible option, as they're the most vulnerable part of the body and can become cracked, injured, or start bleeding. And, you know, you might get, especially if you're out in snow, little snowballs attaching to the legs and things like that. And you think about it, you know, their paws will be feeling, you know, we always worry about cracked paws, don't we, on hot concrete during the summer. But actually, ice and snow can be easily as painful as well. So always wash them after a walk to remove sort of the mud, snow, ice, and road salt that could irritate them, or anything else that could be on their paws, because they can lick those paws and then ingest them. So be careful. And that's actually the same for cats, especially if they're, you know, they're out, because you've got to make sure they're not going near things like antifreeze. And obviously, if they're licking their paws off, they've been on road grit or something, they're ingesting that as well. Make sure collars and tags are up to date, and you might want to consider a tracker. I like Tractive. Lots of dogs go missing in winter months, and be especially mindful of senior dogs who may have hearing or sight loss or cognition dysfunction, and it's really scary how quick they can go missing. And again, this is something I come across a lot with people's, you know, with the dog searching, and people, you know, got an elderly dog, and one minute they're there and the next minute they don't. And I know, I actually did a video. I was filming some B-roll, and what happened was I was sat with Seren, and she just literally got up to have a sniff, and then the next minute I looked round and she was running towards the beach, and it was less than a minute. It was less than a minute, and I caught it all on film, and I used it to demonstrate what can happen. But it wasn't intentional, it just happened. And, you know, even now she'll be on a long line, and she's with me, and then suddenly she sniffs something, and she's might only be like 2 or 3 meters away from me, and she doesn't know where I am. And actually, if I wasn't turning around constantly to look for her, she'd be going missing. it's so easy to miss them. So just be really, just have them on a long line and consider a tracker. I think someone's just knocked at the door. Don't leave your pets in cars. Apart from the theft risk, they are also at risk of hypothermia too. So do be vigilant about that because it's really cold. And obviously, one thing as well, as I mentioned, antifreeze products, if they do ingest it or you're worried at all, wash the area immediately and just get to the vets, because, the sooner that you act, the better the outcome. Pets may be drinking more, as the central heating will cause dehydration. So make sure you're always filling those water bowls up and they're freely available. Support their immune system as well with something like Capaba, with the added benefit of it being great for their musculoskeletal health as well. And you can use it internally for dogs or as a drop topically for cats and rabbits, as they will groom it off. And obviously, if you're adding it topically, just dilute it appropriately for them. So I hope that's given you some little tips. I'll put some show notes so you can refer to the links that I mentioned in the comments. And if you want to embrace a holistic path for you or your dog, please get in touch with me. I've got a free ebook as well, all about a doctor's guide to getting started with natural solutions for you and your pets. And I specialise in integrative health, so I offer tailored consultations for you, and also essential oil kits as well, which always comes. All my essential oil kits come with a bespoke plan and bonuses for you. So, as always, lovely to have you here. If you would be so kind as to leave me a 5-star review, I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to follow or subscribe, depending what platform you're watching. Stay safe, stay well. Bye.